Hello everyone, welcome to Movie Recap Channel. Today we're going to see a fantasy movie recap from 2022 titled The School for Good and Evil. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie surrounds two best friends, Sophie and Agatha, who find their bond put to the test when they're whisked away into a magical school of good and evil. Many years ago, two powerful brothers created a school to keep the balance between good and evil in the fairy tale world. The brothers shared power peacefully for eons, but things changed. The movie later shows the two brothers, Rafal, an evil one, and Rian, the good one, sparring on a duel arena with magical swords. Rafal wishes to stop the power balance and take all power for himself, and uses this chance to attack his brother Rian. He uses forbidden blood magic and defeats Rian. Rian offers to work with him, but Rafal says it is his turn to dictate the terms and bring in a different world of evil. However, Rian trips Rafal, who falls down the cliff. Years later, in a land far away, a new story is unfolding. The narrator talks about a girl named Sophie, beautiful and brave, who was destined to change the world. The following scenes show Sophie interacting with her family. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, in a humble cottage there lives a girl named Agatha. She had no idea her mother was a witch, but her mother knew that she had the makings of a real witch, a sentiment shared by Agatha's peers. Agatha and her friend Sophia meet in the forest. The two formed a special bond after Sophie's mother, who told her she would change the world before death. Villagers also call Agatha a witch, and when one man threatens to kill her, Sophie rescues her. They head to a storybook shop who gives them some ancient book stories to read. As Sophie picks one about the school for the good and evil, the shopkeeper tells about the other realm of fairy tales, where the school for good trains the heroes, while the school for evil trains the villains. Sophie writes on the book her wish to attend the institution, and places the piece of paper on a wishing tree. She tells Agatha she hates her stepmother's decisions and wishes to do more important things in life, and how she plans on leaving. Agatha convinces her to stay, but Sophie decides otherwise. Agatha finds her leaving through the forest and follows her. They are later snatched away by a giant bird, which takes them to the school of good and evil. However, the bird surprisingly drops Agatha at the school of good, and Sophie at the school of evil. Sophie lands in the evil school, and the wolf guards force her in with the other newbies despite her protests. Elsewhere, Agatha lands in the good school, and meets conceited girls who troll her, saying she looks like a witch. She asks them to get her to the evil school to find her friend, but they refuse and leave her for the fairies who carry her in. Sophie tells the lady Lesso, who is in charge of the evil school, she is misplaced, but Lesso tells her that she is in fact quite lucky to be selected as a reader and assigns the newbies schedules. Agatha meets Professor Dovey, head of the good school, who explains to her about the Evers, who believe in living happily ever after, who is in the good school, and the Nevers, who is in the evil school. Agatha says there is a mistake, but Dovey says she must be there due to her powers, which she must learn to summon through her emotions. Agatha wishes to leave, but the professor tells her there is no way back, and helps her choose a dress, though she is repulsed. Agatha and Sophie meet from different sides during the introduction of the newbies, but the fairies and wolf guards stop their interaction. The school deans begin the introduction, and the good school display their talents with everyone watching, while the Nevers boo them. Tedros, an egotistical whose dad was King Arthur, appears and fights the good boys and defeats them. He also uses his magical sword Excalibur to fight and defeat a Never. Tedros later intentionally throws a flower at Agatha, but another girl snatches it and asks Tedros to sit with him. The deans and the school master Rian explain to them that they are chosen for the balance between good and evil, and to teach outsiders to make the right choices. Both Agatha and Sophie explain to their respective roommate that they are mistakenly placed. Agatha escapes her room, but one of the Cupid statues stops her, forcing her to break into a different room where she sees the two deans walk in and talk about them. Dovey tells Lesso about how the two readers insist on their misplacement, thinking that the masters truly misplaced them. But Lesso says it's not a mistake, but the usual balance, and leaves. When they leave, Rafal, the ancient evil brother, appears and warns Agatha to stay away from Sophie and let her fulfill her destiny as she heads to the evil school to warn Sophie. Meanwhile, a Never threatens to throw Sophie out, since she appears to be misplaced. But Sophie defeats her and runs to Agatha, who takes her to plead to the school master to leave the school. In the master's tower, they find a magical pen, the Storian, writing a book, and the master appears. He calls the two special, since no student has ever reached his tower, and explains that the Storian began writing their stories before they arrived. Agatha says they're in danger, but Rafal explains that all those fairy tale stories like Hercules and Cinderella were real, and they changed the world due to their fight with evil. Sophie argues that she too wishes to follow, but only that she is in the wrong school. The master tells them that only if one from evil school won true love's kiss would their stories change. But the Storian tells them that no kiss comes without a price, and they are returned to their respective schools. Agatha learns that she has to ask a boy out to the Evers Ball event or she will fail in class and get turned into something else. The Nevers learn the importance of being ugly and intelligent, while the Evers learn how to become powerful through beauty. Agatha finds the lessons wrong, while others resent her and she fails in the smiling test. Sophie refuses to be ugly, but the professor forces Hort, another Never, to force her head into a bowl of soup. An Ever, Gregor, sits beside Agatha, saying he prefers doing grocery than being a prince. He leaves and Sophie sits with her, and they talk about their test failures. Sophie says she found her true love, Prince Tedros, and asks Agatha to pass a letter and introduce her to Tedros. Tedros approaches Agatha, and they joke about his ego, and Agatha hands him the letter from Sophie and introduces Sophie as good, and they head to Nome for the lesson. Nome takes the students to the forest for survival training, and Gregor tells Agatha about his failures. Another girl approaches her and warns her to stay away from Tedros. Nome shows them the forest monsters, and Gregor runs away, terrified with Agatha chasing him. Just then, a ferocious wind devours Gregor, while Agatha watches. Lesso teaches the Nevers of their special talents of honing into a powerful weapon to defeat their enemies, and asks them to state what they imagine their abilities could be. Hort says he is a werewolf, but fails, and Sophie says she could summon animals. She gets into a dispute with another Never, Hester, who unleashes a dragon from her body and sends it flying after Sophie while the class watches. Lesso tells Sophie to use her talents, and in fear, she calls for animals to help her. To everyone's surprise, bees swarm in and attack and defeat the dragon. However, Rafal, the evil brother, appears from amidst the swarm and congratulates Sophie, and the bees leave. Lesso explains to Sophie that Rafal is the schoolmaster's brother, who was once the most powerful being in the school, and that evil hasn't beaten good since he disappeared. But Sophie's powers have drawn his attention. Sophie says she doesn't need powers, but Lady Lesso encourages her. Dovey teaches the Evers not to attack first, but to stay on defense. Agatha asks for Gregory's whereabouts after he failed 3 times. Dovey shows the class the Wishfish, who once failed in the school and now grants wishes. The girls make their wishes, and Agatha wishes that all of them could head home. A girl emerges from the water and explains how she failed 100 years ago and got turned into a Wishfit. She thanks Agatha for freeing her and heads home. Later, a giant bird appears and Agatha realizes it is Gregor. However, Prince Tedros appears and kills Gregor, causing Agatha to cry and scorn Dovey for destroying good people who fail to meet their expectations. Agatha and Sophie meet and talk about their experiences and mention meeting Rafal. Agatha leaves Sophie with Tedros, but the wolf guards take her to Lesso, who asks Sophie to choose her side, since Rafal only wants evil and leaves her sobbing. Agatha reveals to Tedros that he unknowingly killed Gregor and asks him to think more into the school affairs. Rafal later appears to Sophie and incites her to forget the rules and do as she wants. Drawn in by Rafal's words, she decides to do whatever it takes to win true love's kiss from Tedros. Tedros flirts with Agatha, but the deans interrupt and begin the ceremony of everyone finding their magic. They explain that the finger glow from the prick indicates the power inside them. However, Sophie appears in a makeover and walks to the front line. They activate her powers and she pridefully walks away. She then makes a truce with the other Nevers, who now follow her. Agatha, however, urges Sophie to win Tedros over with goodness rather than beauty. Sophie finds Tedros training archery and Agatha helps her shoot straight arrows in an effort to attract him. The two later hung out while the different students watch in disbelief, calling it tragic. Tedros promises to take her to the Evers Ball event. This angers Tedros' previous girl, causing a fight between the good and evil side, but Dovey stops it. The deans argue about the love affair between the two, while the two defend themselves as true love. Master Rion then orders a trial by tale to determine if it is indeed true love. They both have to enter the Blue Forest on opposite sides and defeat whatever danger they find and find each other by dawn, without help. At sundown, the trial begins, and they each walk in the forest, while Agatha also tries to help. Sophie gets hunted by the pumpkin monster, but Agatha helps her. She later finds Tedros, but a monster attacks him. They fight, and Agatha again steps in to help Tedros to defeat the monster. Tedros realizes that Sophie cheated with Agatha's help and quits the test. Sophie grows angry at Agatha for helping them and trying to steal her prince, and also quits as Agatha sees Rafal again. She explains to Professor Dovey how both she and Lesso saw Rafal earlier, which shocks her. Agatha gives Sophie a letter of apology, but Rafal appears and convinces her that she will protect her from Agatha and promises to make her more powerful with blood magic, which Sophie accepts. Dovey, Anemone, and other deans scorn Lesso for not talking about Rafal, and Lesso says Rafal intends the evil school to win. Master Rion appears and tells them to find the missing Sophie to prevent them from teaming up and destroying the school. The deans find and question Sophie, but she reveals the blood magic and Rafal's promises. Agatha finds Tedros at the dance and Tedros calls Agatha his true love, but Sophie interrupts, asking Tedros to take her to the dance. Tedros, however, says he is now with Agatha, which angers Sophie and she reveals her blood magic, now terming Agatha as her nemesis. Later they find the deans and guards all turned into tiny dolls by Sophie. Tedros mobilizes the men to attack Sophie, but Agatha goes to help her. She finds the Nevers dancing, and while the men barge in to attack her, Sophie uses her magic to turn the evil into good, and the good into evil. The two sides then fight while Sophie helps the Nevers. Hort knocks out Tedros and Agatha steps in to help. Agatha tries to stop the fight, saying Rafal is the real enemy, but Sophie throws her away and leaves to settle it with the Master Rion. She enters the Master's tower and finds the Historian writing her current story. However, Rafal appears and reveals that he was posing as Master Rion. He explains to Sophie that it was all a test to find his true love, and that he answered her wish and brought her to the school after seeing her potential. He also narrates about his brother, and how they protected each other and stayed immortal and young, protecting the Historian. But due to discontent, he fought and killed his good brother. He later assumed his brother's identity to hide his true intent, and started destroying the balance from within by corrupting the school, and rewarding their evil while good became vain and weak. Rafal then forces Sophie to give him true love's kiss, causing evil to overtake and destroy the school, which Sophie regrets. Agatha arrives and Sophie runs to her. Rafal tries to kill Agatha, but Sophie jumps in and gets stabbed instead. Rafal's powers reverse as things return to normal and the people wake up. Tedros arrives to fight Rafal, and when Rafal almost defeats him, Sophie uses her magic to give Agatha the sword Excalibur, which she uses to kill Rafal. Sophie dies while Agatha watches and cries over her. She then gives Sophie a kiss and she surprisingly wakes up, and they joyfully embrace. The historian writes down how the heroes defeated their greatest threat to the school, and the good and evil sides later form a union in the same school. Agatha's kiss sets them free and opens a way back to their hometown. Sophie and Agatha leave together, leaving Tedros behind. They arrive back in their hometown and are met with open arms by their families. They later use their power to humiliate their bullies and walk away laughing. Tedros throws an arrow through to their world, which brings an end to the thrilling film. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. I'll be back with another interesting movie recap. Until then, take care.